Hi, my name is Harvey Havel, and I'm a book writer here in Albany, New York. And in celebration of the New York State Writers Institute's fourth annual Albany Book Festival, this year it's virtual because of COVID. My colleague Ben Murphy and I have decided to contribute a little bit of our literature for this great occasion. The Albany Book Festival is from September 10th to the 24th this year. And so Ben Murphy and I decided to contribute our literature from what I'm reading from is actually from a book called The Odd and the Strange, a collection of very short fiction. All of the fiction within this book is no longer than 3 to 4 pages, sometimes even shorter. And so this book will be out in November, this year, November of 2020. So the first story I want to read, and I'm going to read 3 stories, very short each of them, is a story called Guilt. Okay. The blood from his wound flowed like a righteous river into the sandy bottom of the desert. The moon looked as red and as dry as Mars, and the sergeant thought that maybe what he saw in the sky was Mars indeed, as though the earth had inched closer to it. He held the young corporal in his arms as blood flowed out of his ears, his nostrils, and his eyes. The blood spurted out to the pulsing rhythm of his racing heart, and it was clear that he didn't believe in this sordid business of war anymore, even though he had been thusly so conditioned to fight in war in the first place. The sergeant wanted to eat his heart just to save him from the pain that he suffered, and perhaps some of his brain as well, just to be on the safe side so that the corporal's pain would end. And there in the desert, as the choppers descended upon them like vultures, the young corporal said that he now realized that war was truly an unrelated item on some bureaucrat's memo pad, and that the sergeant should feel free to drink up his blood now, should he want to experience what dying was really like. So, the sergeant readily complied as he brought out a golden cup from his backpack and drained whatever blood he could from one of the corporal's ribs. "Do you feel less guilty about things, sir?" asked the corporal before dying. "Is this some kind of aphrodisiac?" asked the sergeant. "I don't think so, sir," said the corporal. "Okay, then," said the sergeant, "if that's the case, then let's drink a cup of your warm blood together. I see nothing but the strength of 1,000,000 helicopters in this." So that was Guilt. Here's another one called Redhead from this book. Her hair was on fire as he looked at her through the window of his usual coffee shop. Getting too expensive to see her flaming red hair and mellow green eyes like a sphinx with her nose intact, the man refused to pay for another useless cup. But it was the fire of her hair that he wanted, the flames licking the sky as though he were a disabled man on acid. She had a slim, petite body which was perfectly acceptable for roasting on the Labor Day grill. And the young man often thought of running up to her without buying another cup and kissing her madly, despite the wretched scars of a first-degree burn such an act would ultimately cause him. The flames of her hair burned, and he walked through a plate-glass window of the coffee shop with the desperate and paranoid look of a schizoid rabbit. He couldn't hide the desire in his heart as the flames now burned his skin like 1,000 cigarettes over his arms, his legs, and his face. Call it an even trade for trying to get closer to her, because after all, it was really impossible for her to respond to him unless he did something highly unusual, such as cupping her breasts or licking her skin, without being invited to do so. He might as well have been a flasher in a raincoat for all he knew, and yet the flames of her fiery red hair purified the uncleanliness of his imagination, just like Odysseus did when he set the interior of his Parthenon on fire in order to cleanse and purify it from the jism that Penelope's suitors left behind. Okay, so that's called Redhead. And this last one, if I can find it, okay, is called Delusion. Where is it? Okay, this is called delusion. Sorry about that. And this is my third and last one. Delusion. You often wonder why the television and the radio are talking directly to you. It's a little more than identifying with what's on the tube, you suspect. Even the people outside who walk by your ground floor apartment with their designer dogs are talking about you. You want it all to end, but it doesn't, and you ultimately suspect the CIA that somehow this elite organization you wanted you right from the beginning and has been guiding you all along, that they alone are your real parents and not anyone else. The fact that people all over the neighborhood are finally talking about you is sometimes a good thing, as you always wanted to be understood by everyday strangers wherever you went, like some famous rock star whom the women can't get enough of. But if you actually try to approach anyone about it, this special charm of having people scrutinize you would end abruptly. In other words, if you went up to the people outside and accused them of causing your predicament, the spell would instantly break, and they would claim that they're not talking about you at all, and that you should mind your own business and not barge into other people's conversations. You are still convinced, though, and as your mind revs up its engine, it discovers that strange thoughts are coming in at you a mile a minute, such that your brain starts to hurt and bleed in the fury of pain. You have nowhere to go. There is no escape. You alone wanted this, and now you're stuck with this. So, 3 short stories, very short stories from the book The Odd and the Strange in celebration of the New York State Writers Institute's 4th annual Albany Book Festival, which is virtual this year, September 10th to the 24th. So, congratulations, New York State Writers Institute, for another great year, and thank you very much for hearing this.